you're going to pay about 5% to a management company to manage the staff in the operation. And then you've got your payroll and everything else on top of that. You could go spend the next 40 days trying to figure out the next steps, find some investors, speak to banks. Then you submit the offer, or you submit the offer and they say no. You can't get to the next steps until you actually have a deal. Don't be afraid of putting deals under contract and going for it, because really it's what you need to do to get to the next steps and actually get them done.
There were actually a couple RV parks that I was looking at. Got a lot of information about kind of, because I'm a full-time RVer, so I see a lot of RV parks. I talk to a lot of RV people, but hearing a broker's perspective of the market and everything, it was actually really interesting. But I do have one that I want to discuss. It just came on the market.
Which one do you want to look at?
It's Classy RV Park.
All
So,
right, so tell me about it.
well, when I first ran the numbers, it seemed like they listed it kind of like as almost as an amateur. Like if I was going to put numbers together on this, like they came out exact. Like I think it was a six cap, 90% occupancy, 50% OpEx. If you run those numbers like that, it comes out to 3.3 million what they have it listed at. Once you look at the OM, the numbers come out a little differently, but it still doesn't seem like a bad deal. Some of the questions that I kind of had about it, like what's the seller's motivation? It says in the description that the owner is also the manager, like they manage the property, but they also live on site. I don't know if they're living in that barn dominium or if they live in an RV. So would they still need to live there? There doesn't seem to be a lot of opportunity with the property itself because there's power lines that run through. If you go back up to that picture where the trees were, it runs through like the back half. Yeah.
Yep, right here.
Yeah. So they do have storage. They have propane on site. They have a lot of the kind of on site amenities that, RVers really kind of look for so they don't have to travel too far. And it's kind of out of the way from a lot of things, which I know can be, somewhat of a negative, but I think there's still, an upside to that. People like to get away. Not everybody's into glamping, but it also seems like they don't keep a lot of good books because you can see some missing information from 2022 and 2023. It almost looks like they just put together books when they decided to list it.
Uh-huh.
But there's still a lot of good information there.
Let me tell you guys a little secret. So when you're looking at data on an income statement, let me see if I can where's this guy at? James Barry. All right, so this is the 173 unit we're looking at in Houston. This is their most recent income statement. So when you see, there's a little tip. When you're looking at income statements in T12s and you see that the expenses or the income is down to the penny on things, that tells me that these are accurate financials. Now, they may be missing something, right? They may be missing, this expense or that expense that they're not technically charging for in their operations, but it tells me that they're not rounding these numbers and lying about them, and that these are their actual numbers. So just a little tip, when you're looking at T12s, look for as much detail as possible, and that means that these are most likely accurate numbers. Like here, they could have just rounded to the nearest dollar, potentially. But also it would make me feel better if it was down to the penny on how
Yeah.
much they were spending. But keep on going, DJ.
Um, so I kind of ran the numbers and, with what I see in here, with the 7.5 cap, which I'm assuming is kind of on par for this, I came to a value of 3.12 million. But
And they're
they're
at
also,
they're at 3.3, right?
yeah. And so like they list the occupancy on that page is 90%, and they say historically it's been at 90%, but down in the financials it shows it at I think 87%. They have a 13% vacancy rate.
As of
But
today.
it only yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was down on the next sheet down, but
Yeah. Well, let's run
no,
through
go
it
for it.
because I agree with you.
Go.
I've seen this deal, and I think that it is good. Do you know the current rents that it has on it? I'm just gonna ask
Yeah,
you that way I can write them out.
they're averaging at 490.
So 490.
There's
Um,
96 pads.
and on this 490, do you know if that's including electric or are they charging that back?
It says they're it says electric not included. And that was another question that I was going to have. I know monthly, a lot of times they do not include electric. They actually read meter, and they, having lived here, I understand how that works. But usually the weeklies and dailies don't pay extra electric.
Yeah, it's different parks will run them different ways, as you know. Like at ours, I believe I'm fairly positive that everybody gets charged, maybe not the nightlies for the electric use, and that's just included in the nightly rate. But we do charge the weeklies and we do charge the monthlies, and we go and we read their meters. But I'm just going to point it out because, like you mentioned, you'd said you're not sure if there's that much opportunity with it. There potentially is. It just might not be adding additional slots, right? There's
Yeah,
still a lot of opportunity with these that could be like, for example, if this one was including the electric in this 490, then an opportunity with the deal would be to cease that and start charging back electric if the market and competition allowed you to. And that would raise your NOI significantly, right? Just another thing I'm trying to point out, like a good way for you and everybody here to spot opportunity is not necessarily just adding more slots and build more units and stuff, but it could just be charging back the electric or raising the rents, by $100. That would create a tremendous amount of opportunity and value with this deal.
yeah. And I did project that too, like raising it to 525, and then kind of looking at like how they did marketing and flyers and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but I saw their expenses for it. It's
Yeah.
not much. So
Well,
it sounds to me like it's a word of mouth, people that already know about the park.
yeah. Well, let's run through the numbers. 490, 96 slots. I would run it at 90%. I think that that's okay to run it at 90% occupied.
I did that at 90%, but then I also used their 87%. I got
Okay. Let's
508,032.
let's use 90 here times 12 times 0.9. So 508, that's right. And they're saying theirs is 456 and 498. So basically the same thing, right? 498. So it's pretty close. It doesn't look, unless the electric is included in gross sales. Oh, you guys can't see. Can we split screen me?
They show electric. They show
Well,
it down.
yeah, this is their charge for electric, but they're
Right.
not showing it as income of them charging it back unless this is included in gross sales, which it could be. Um, so for other income for the electric,
And that
uh,
that was my question about the electric. Because
yeah,
if you look down at the comparables,
uh-huh.
it shows them as electric's not included.
Yeah, I don't think electric is included here because their electric bill in 23 was 104,000. And so if that was the case, then their, rents would really be like 420,000 versus close to this 500 number. Now, you're not going to charge back 100% of the electric. You're going to have common area electric, etc. Some tenants are going to roll out and you're not going to get to charge them. There's a little space there, but you should be charging back a good 75, 80% plus at a minimum of electric back to the residents. So like in this case, it would be about, uh, you know, give or take like $80,000 worth of electric. The utilities are really high. I mean, these utilities make up a big percentage of the total expenses for these parks. But you should be charging back the electric here, which should be about, let's just say $80,000 a year for this park. So where does that put us? So I don't know this market. Huntsville in Texas, this is a prison town. So a lot of the jobs and stuff service the prison. I don't know
That's
this
what
market and the comparables and everything. Now, this 490 might include the electric, right? And so if you're going to charge back electric, the the market might only allow like 400 a month plus the electric. I'm not sure if the market would support 490 plus electric if they're not doing it, and the comps don't show that. Does that make sense?
it does.
So you're saying that the comps show that electric is included at these rates?
No, it's not.
It's not. So the
No,
comps are showing.
but if you scroll down and look at the comps, it shows that they don't include electric either. And they actually show that because they have a lot of demographics in there. It actually shows that the
Where's your
employment is mostly
where's your comps? Here?
um it might be all the way at the bottom. I don't remember where I saw the comps. I
Well,
might be
just
confusing it too with another part.
just help me understand. So the 490, you think you can charge electric on top, correct?
I mean, at that rate, I would expect to.
Okay. All right. Well, let's run it at that. So what's our gross income here?
588.
All right. So
There's also,
588.
yeah, do we want to include propane, laundry, and storage as well?
Yeah, I mean, let's just leave it off for now. I would assume worst case scenario, you don't get much in propane sales unless storage is a big piece of this operation. Let's just leave it off for right this second. And then also the laundry, it'd probably make up about like $1,000 a month, depending on how much they charge and how much people use it. Sorry,
Yeah,
not $1,000 a month, so 12,000 a year. Like
yeah,
ours we make about 1,800 a month. We've got a full set of all the nice ones that pay $2 a load, and everybody there uses it. So we make about 1,800 a month on ours.
yeah,
But
and
let's
that's what
leave
their
off.
financials showed is 14,400 for the year for laundry.
Cool. All right, let's leave off for right now though, just because I don't think they're charging back, and they don't even show that in here, which is I assume they might be including it here in gross sales, but let's just say 588 because this is much higher than their number anyways. Your expenses here, DJ, are going to be about 45%. Okay.
They have at 52.
They have it at 52,
Yeah,
and theirs would be even higher because they're not charging a management fee. You're going to pay about 5% to a management company to manage the staff and the operations. It'll be about 5% is the going rate here in Texas. And then you've got your payroll and everything else on top of that. Now, in your case, maybe you buy this deal and you don't want to hire a management company, and you are the management company, and your fund, your syndication can pay you, your company, to manage that 5%. That's okay too. But it's very important that you include it in the expense because your buyers at the time when you sell this, and the banks and everybody included, are going to want to see that expense factored in. And 5% is the going rate here in Texas. So so we're keeping 55% as our NOI. So where does that leave us? 323, right?
well, I did that one wrong. I got 264, but I think I did it backwards. Yeah, 323, 400.
All right. So this is good. Your NOI is going to be much higher than theirs once you come in and streamline operations and figure out, I don't have the answer, but figure out the discrepancies between charging back the electric, the additional income. It doesn't look like any of that's included in their financials here. Like even laundry income, they're leaving blank right here, right?
Yeah, they just
Unless
have the
they,
estimated for 2024.
right. Figure that piece out. But once you come in and streamline the operations, it'll be pretty simple and easy to do. It'll probably take you a few months to get everything the way that you want it. But I don't doubt if this is correct, you can charge 490 and charge back the electric, that you're going to be, plus 320 on NOI. Now, this isn't even including a rent raise to 525, for example, which would bump it, that much further. But here,
Right.
the numbers look good. What you're gonna need for to go get a loan on this. So the loans on RV parks are much different. You're not going to go get Fannie and Freddie debt and agency debt on an RV park. And we've worked through it and got many quotes from different people. One of the best quotes we got was the most recent one, and it was actually someone from Marcus and Millichap, I believe, in their finance department, and we can connect you. But he went out and got a quote from a life insurance company, and that life insurance company quoted at 6.25%. It'd likely be P&I payments, amortized over 25 years on a 5-year term. And that was a good rate. Is the best we've seen. They really liked the park. They liked the location. Now that was in OKC though, in Oklahoma City. They may not like Huntsville, Texas that much, but that's the lowest we've ever seen. And so your rate more likely is going to be at this point in time is probably going to be about 7.5 to 7.75, give or take. That's kind of the range where a lot of these rates have been falling when we're getting quotes for the RV parks. So you're going to have to be able to provide them the current financials, right? I think it's
Yeah.
obvious that they don't have the best financials in place. And so you're going to need the brokers here to go out and get you the current financials, like through the end of June at least right now. That way you can go out and get good debt quotes. But I would say that something's working here. This park is pretty full. Staying that occupied is good. It also could mean that you have the ability to raise the rents quite a bit,
Yeah.
if they're staying full all the time. But I don't think that your price is unreasonable because can you tell me their NOI?
Their NOI was 247, 342.
All right, so 247,000, and you wanted to offer 3.1?
That was what that yeah, that's what I got because I got a similar NOI. I got 234. Um, but that was using their 13% vacancy rate, but also including their projected propane laundry and storage.
Right.
But it's still, I mean, the numbers, no matter how you run it, they all kind of even out similarly.
Yeah. If they're doing what they say you should be doing, because if they're not doing that, if they're not charging back the electric, if they're not collecting all the income, the banks aren't going to use your pro forma to run it. They're going to use the actual financials. And so your offer needs to reflect that. And I think that it does here. Like if you offer 3.1 on the 247 NOI, then that's going to put you at about an 8 cap.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the cash on cash real quick. So let's put you at basically an 8 cap. Now let's run mortgage calculator. They're going to require probably about they're going to require about 30% down, probably, maybe even closer to 40. So the value is 3.1 million. Let's see here. Oops, extra zero. All right, 3.1 million. Your down payment, let's put it at 30. Your loan term, I'm going to run your interest rate at about 7.75, which I believe is what you'd get if you got a quote today. And that's going to put your monthly pay at 16,390, which is about 197,000 a year, right? So let's see what our DSCR is, if that would even work. What's 247 divided by 197?
Want to do that backwards? 197 divided by 247?
Now, to figure out your DSCR, you take your NOI
Oh,
and divide by your debt.
1.25.
All right, you're right there. So you, with 30% down, you can't even go lower on the price. I mean, sorry, higher on the price. If you got there 3.3, you'd have to put more than 30% down to meet this 1.25 DSCR. But you're right there. So that actually works with 3.1 million, 247 current actual NOI, and your debt at 7.75, 25-year AM to be able P&I payments to make this work. Your cash flow is going to be what? 247 minus 197. It's be about 50 grand, right? Or
Yep,
40 grand.
exactly 50. Exactly 50. Yeah.
Yep. So $50,000 in cash flow year one. Now, what's 30% of 3.1 million?
930.
All right. So what's 50,000 divided by 930?
5.4%.
All right, that's right. 5.4% cash on cash day one. Now, you wouldn't buy this if this was the maximum you could get here. However, we know that your NOI is going to increase based on what we talked about from 247 to 340 or whatever it was, right? And you can do that fast. That's what's really good about RV parks is you don't have to wait 12 months to renew those leases and start charging back electric to the residents. You can do that day one if the meters are there, right? So you can start moving through your business plan execution very fast here. Month one, month two, month three, you could have this thing completely turned around and printing a much higher cash flow and cash on cash. And I believe that that will be the business plan here, right? Now, also too, when you raise the NOI, what did we come up with? 323. So you're going to raise the NOI about $80,000, right?
Yep.
And that's not including laundry income. That's not including a rental increase. That's simply just charging back the electric, basically. So what is 80K divided by 0.08?
1 million.
That's right. So when you do that and you raise the NOI 80 grand, you're going to create $1 million worth of value there in that first year too. So now your $3.1 million park just went to a $4.1 million park, and your cash on cash just went from 5% to basically probably closer to like 13, 14%. And at that point, that's where the deal becomes good. And all of that right there that we just mentioned, raising the NOI, raising the cash flow, raising the value, charging back the electric, again, not including laundry, not including raising the rents or storage, is going to be the opportunity and the value with this deal. So even though you can't build the additional slots, you're going to take a deal that currently is not valued as high because they're missing out on all these opportunities with the revenue and the NOI. You're going to revamp the operations and create $1 million worth of value very fast. Within a few months at the most. Also take your cash on cash from like 5 to about 14% year one, in a few months as well.
So the question I have about increasing the value is, especially with an RV park, how does that value get assessed? Like if I waited 5 years to go and do a refi, is it similar to apartment buildings?
Yep, exactly. It's the value here is the raise in the NOI. And same thing with the apartment buildings too, right? Like if I bought an apartment complex today and I added, I don't know, I redid all the units and I added some smart technology and blah, blah, blah to the units, but my NOI decreased, my property would be worth less if I went to sell this thing than it was before I did all those things and the NOI was up here. So
So
it's
they're
valued based on the NOI.
so they're just looking at numbers. They're not actually. It's not like valuing a house where they look at property comps, stuff like that. It's all numbers.
That's right. And they do look at comps, but they look at sales comps and cap rates. And so they're going to take a cap rate and apply it to your NOI. And that's the beautiful thing about RV parks, commercial real estate, apartment complexes, retail, industrial, is that the value of the property is not contingent upon, your paint or your light fixtures or what the house next door sold for. It's based on the cap rate of the market, what people are willing to pay, and the NOI that your deal is bringing in. So you can create that value very fast just by charging back the electric, and your deal is now worth $1 million more than it was 30 days ago. Great job. I think you pursue this one, and I think you submit an offer on this one.
I'd
Well,
love to. I need to work out the next steps, but yeah, I'm excited about it, and I'd even love to get down. It hasn't been on the market long, so I kind of want to figure out how to make this work because I'd like to get down there and look at it too. And
let me.
I'd also like to know what their barn dominium is being used for because they're projecting cash flow from that as well.
I assume they probably rent it out
Yeah, but for what like
for
events?
parties, events, things like
Yeah.
that. I want to push you though, DJ. So the next step here, I know that, and trust me, I get it. I was the same way, and I know that everybody here is thinking the same thing of like, well, I don't want to submit the offer until I know what debt I'm getting, what investors I'm going to have, what, et cetera, right? I need to know the next steps, I think is what you're referring to. But I would encourage you to just submit the offer. Submit the offer with some confidence. Submit the offer at the 3.1 million. Schedule a time for you to go out there and view it, learn more about the broker and their other listings. But it's important because you could go spend the next 40 days trying to figure out the next steps, find some investors, speak to banks. Then you submit the offer and
And
they're
the
already
deal's
under
gone.
contract. Or you
Yeah.
submit the offer and they say no, right? But what you need, like, you can't get to the next steps until you actually have, a deal. And you're
Yeah.
going to need to know and take to the bank, hey, I've got this deal. They've accepted my LOI, or we're in talks. We're right there. Take this to your investors. All right, hey guys, I have this deal. We're about to go under contract. You need control of the deal first to get to the next steps versus going after the next steps and then trying to come back and control the deal. And worst case scenario, I just want to throw this out there for anybody who might be in fear about putting deals under contract. Now, you don't want to get in a habit of this, of putting deals under contract and then backing out, because you want to have a good relationship with these brokers, being known as a closer, being able to get deals done, etc. But in the worst case scenario, if anybody went under contract on a deal today and had to drop it 25 days later, the worst thing that would happen is you just wasted 25 days, but you're not losing any money, right? Because you're not putting up non-refundable until after due diligence. You're not really risking anything, and it'll be a good learning process. And so long as you do it with good intentions and you're really actually trying to get it done, everybody involved in the transaction would understand. And, if there's something wrong with the deal, that's not your fault. So don't be afraid of putting deals under contract and going for it. Because really it's what you need to do to get to the next steps and actually get them done. Great questions though, DJ, and great deal. And I do think you should submit an LOI on it. I do like this deal.